Mga igsuon, kumusta? Welcome na usab sa atong tulumanon CCTN International Pinoy Journeys. Tungod kay Friday na usab karon, ako na usab si Divine Marshall Flores live gikan diri sa New Brunswick, Canada.
Og ako na usab si Tony Ortega live gikan sa probinsya sa British Columbia, Canada. Good morning Cebu, good evening Canada.
Yes, maayong adlaw nimo diha Brad Tony. Kumusta na ang weather diha sa imong nahimutangan? Sa akong nahimutangan diri Brad Tony for the last week, oh my God, naabot mi og minus 40 plus.
Diri sa British Columbia, Attorney Divine, makaingon ta nga murag distracted or damaged na gyud siya ang environment kay 10 years ago ang klima sa British Columbia og nuna tay winter dili ingon ani karon nga mag-usab-usab siya, and I think not only in BC, it's global.
Yeah, tinuod na. Dili na normal ang dagan sa atong weather karong panahon na because of climate change. And dunay during the time nga nag minus 40 plus mi diri Brad Tony, daghan kaayong nag-try anong challenge nga kana bitang pinabukal nga tubig, gibutang nila og kabo, and then ilang giitsa during the time nga minus 46, I think ang among temperature dire. Makuan siya, no? Mas maay siya bisan og pinabukan ng tubig.
And that becomes our black snow.
Okay, mo nang slippery kaayo siya. Oo, unya kung ma-expose ka, mag-frostbite yung ka, kung ma-expose ka just a minute, no? Basta inana ka bugnaw ang panahon.
Pero ang nakanindot, Attorney Divine, the time is almost coming for springtime. So we're going to experience iba na naman yung aura, ang environment natin kasi po sa Canada, ang pinakamaganda pong season sa Canada, if I have to say it, yung springtime.
Springtime, but I love fall. Yeah, mas magustuhan ko yung colorful na mga 'di ba?
Ginawa lang natin ito, Divine, kasi po sa Pilipinas, hindi natin ma-identify sa Pilipinas sa rainy season and sunny season lang tayo.
Yeah.
At saka wala tayong identity na summer na ba to or rainy na ba to because of the global warming.
Yeah, and our televiewers right now might be wondering why we're speaking in Tagalog, because this morning ang atong guest Tagalog na sad, no? So mo na nga kami ni Brad Tony naninguha gyud sa among Tagalog, no? Bisag pipila lang kabok ning atong Tagalog. And I'm so excited again Brad Tony nga maminaw sa journey ning atong guest karong buntaga.
Yeah, it's true, Attorney Divine. Makaingon ta ba ingon maguga nga Tagalog, but actually, originally, the family is coming from Cebu. He grew up in Manila, came to Canada. Marunong siya, makakaintindi siya ng Tagalog, but he seldom speaks sa Bisaya. So, advantage pa rin sa kanya at saka hindi mo siya pwedeng ibenta.
Kasi makaintindi siya ng Bisaya.
Saka yung guest natin ngayon, isa din siya sa pinaka-accomplished. Kilala ko po yung pamilya niya. Sabihin na natin na I think he's following the footsteps of his dad. Entrepreneur din siya, and it's a good thing to hear, at saka nakakataba po ng puso na akala natin Pilipino dito sa Canada, trabaho lang trabaho tayo, ganito. Mayroon na naman tayong nagiging sa entrepreneurial side naman tayo. That is why nagiging guest tayo, at I'm sure po magkakaroon kayo ng magiging inspiration po ninyo siya pag narinig niyo siya mag-share sa journey niya ngayon. So, yung pa-guest po natin siya ngayon is galing sa Cebu, pumunta ng Manila, pumunta ng Canada. So ang guest po natin is no other than Bryan Mendiola. Good morning, Bryan.
Hi.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Yes, very good. So, Bryan, ano yung location mo ngayon?
I am in Surrey, BC, which is suburbs lang siya ng Vancouver, about 45 minutes from Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yeah. Okay, kasi sabi nila yung Vancouver, yan daw yung maganda yung weather sa buong Canada.
Compared to Canada, yes.
Until now?
Yeah. You get all 4 seasons in BC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pero medyo may nag-snow na dyan, di ba? Unlike before.
It's BC is a little different kasi magi-snow for a short time, and then you'll get all 4 seasons in one day.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
that's
exciting.
very possible. It's very common when it snows in the morning, sunny in the afternoon, rain at night, and then spring in the morning again.
Ganda naman dyan.
Moody,
Pero
moody,
May
moody
Brian,
siya,
meron
moody.
siyang disadvantage kasi po, yes, maganda talaga ang season sa Vancouver, British Columbia, especially in Vancouver. Pero maganda din ang presyo.
So, yun na
Yeah,
nga. Oo.
lahat
Kaya,
ng closet ng jacket dito puno kasi hindi mo alam kung ano susuot mo.
okay. Kaya kayong mga may kaya dyan kayo sa, dyan kayo sa British Columbia.
May kaya mo ka.
May kaya magbayad ng tax, yun lang.
Okay. Bri, sinabi ni Brad Tony kanina na may roots ka from Cebu. So before tayo
Yeah.
mag-discuss about your journey sa Canada, so paano naging Cebuano ang roots mo?
Actually, my main roots there is my parents. So my mom is from Toledo, Cebu. And then my dad is actually from Manila, pero he went to school in Cebu.
Ah,
So
really?
that's how they met, and they got married because of me.
Okay. So, paano, baliktad ata yon kasi those from Cebu, pumunta sa Manila para mag-aral. Pero yung dad mo, pumunta sa Cebu para mag-aral?
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
he went there for school.
Okay. At
I think that at the time my grandparents moved there, they were a big family, so they were a family of, I believe, 7.
Okay. So doon sila nagkita ng mama mo.
Doon sila nag-meet, yeah.
Okay. So, after that, nung married na yung parents mo, nag-transfer kayo sa Manila and you were born and grew up in Manila?
Yeah, I was born in Manila, yeah. And then that's where they stayed when we were babies, pretty much when we were kids. And then my mom migrated to Canada early 80s. So my mom left for Canada, I think 81 or 82.
And
Yeah.
how old were you then?
I was born in 76, so I was about 4 or 5 years old, and my sister was about 3.
So meaning to say, naiwan mo na kayo sa Philippines?
Yeah, my dad, my sister, and me.
For how many years?
We got to Canada in 87, so quite a while. So
Yeah.
about maybe about 5 years, 5 to 6 years. Yeah.
So mga ilang taon ka at that time?
I arrived in Canada. I was 11 in 87.
Okay, 11 years old. Kaya, so yung elementary mo is nasa Philippines.
Elementary was until I think grade 5. I
Mm,
came here in grade 5. Yeah.
okay. Hindi ba mahirap? Kasi pag wala yung mama, di ba mahirap lumaki nang wala
Siyempre,
yung
yeah,
mother?
always. But there's
Ah,
an advantage to Filipinas, right? You're always raised not just by your family, but you're always raised by the neighborhood, which is
true,
something that is not available here. Here, you're only raised with your own family.
true.
Sa atin, I was in Smith, and realistically, they're my family too. Like even now, like we're still in touch with the street we grew up on, and we're still family with them, right?
Yeah, pwede lang tayo ipagbilin sa kapitbahay natin doon sa Pilipinas, di ba?
You're freezing there.
Yeah, Brian, kasi yung naiwan ka sa Pilipinas is yung daddy mo is nagtatrabaho din.
Yeah, he was working there, and then my mom was working in Canada.
Pero yung sa ang individual po, yung personal po na nag-take care kahit yung mom is away from you,
Mhm.
mga tita mo or grandma
Yeah,
mo?
mainly my tita. We, just like anyone else in the 80s, we lived in a multi-family house, right? So we all
Oh,
live.
okay.
Yeah.
We have about 3 or 4 families in one house, right? So
Mhm.
actually, it was the best way of growing up, in my opinion.
So pagdating mo sa Canada, Bri, you mentioned that dumating ka dito 11 years old.
Yeah.
Kumusta po? Ano yung reaction mo first na dumating ka sa Canada?
At that time, it's always hard because you're leaving. First of all, we didn't really know, like at that age, we didn't really realize that we're there for good. We're leaving for good. You
Yeah.
know that you're leaving, but you don't really know it, right? Kasi I was really too young
To
to
understand.
acknowledge that. Pero you know, it wasn't hard at the beginning, but as you the reality hits that, oh no, I'm not coming back, then it starts to get harder, right? Because you're in a new land. Like I barely spoke English, I had to take special classes. You
At
had to
that.
make friends.
Mm.
So yeah, syempre mahirap ng konti, but I was lucky because I was really athletic. I was good in sports. So
Oh,
if you're good in sports, you make friends pretty quickly. You become popular pretty fast. So I use sports as a way of making friends.
oh, okay.
Sports,
Batang lupa ako eh.
anong sports ang nilaro mo that time?
Everything. Basketball. I was good at basketball, football, soccer, any sport really. I was a really fast runner.
Mm-mm.
So that was my gateway to popularity and friendship with
Wow.
with my friends.
Mm-mm. Pero yung was it the decision of your mom or sa family mo talaga na mag-settle na sa Canada for good?
Yeah, I think that was always the main goal was to migrate here
Mhm.
for a better opportunities.
Yung dumating ka dito, Bri, yung dumating ka dito, anong ang season ba sa Canada? Is it fall or spring?
You won't believe it could be a movie when I left during election day, May 11,
Oh,
1987.
it was spring.
So it was like people were marching the streets like it was crazy.
Oh,
We didn't even know we were gonna like I knew that the airport was bad. Like it was so full of people. It was May 11th. I think that was the big election day.
Ah,
mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was
Mhm.
like Ninoy and Marcos thing, right? So
Mm-mm.
yeah, it was pretty interesting leaving that day.
Wow.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah.
So, nung dumating na kayo sa Canada, hmm, kumusta naman po yung ewan ko if ma-ano mo pa, ma-remember mo pa kung, ano yung mga experience ng dad mo? Kasi yung mom mo is naka-adjust na 'no, but what about your dad?
Oh, it was really hard for him. Yeah,
Kasi
I think it was harder for him than anybody because the
Dumat
lifestyle in the Philippines and then the lifestyle here are two very, very different lifestyles.
Yeah, kasi ang sarap-sarap ng buhay natin sa Philippines, 'di ba?
Yeah, yeah. So he went from being a boss to being, you know, discriminated and
oh,
yelled at, and back then I wouldn't say racism, but back then people of that are just starting out weren't treated very nicely by people that are in the industry of hiring up. Like he was a dishwasher at a big hotel for a long time.
Ah, okay. That was the
Pan
first
Pan
job?
Pacific. I'm not sure if it was his first job, but I know it's one of the first ones. But it
Mm.
was a big Pan Pacific hotel when it first opened up.
Ah,
So he was not treated very well by the higher up employees, right? By the staff. So
uh-huh. But back in the Philippines, anong trabaho ng dad mo? When
he was in the ships, so he would manage like
oh,
shipments, so longshoreman type deal. So
mm. So boss
so
na
he was
talaga.
the boss. So it's different when you're telling people what to do than being told what to do, right? So it's a
Yeah,
big change.
true. Parang naka-demoralize, no? Pag ikaw yung concern, nga I'm like
Yeah,
this in the Philippines and look at me now. You're doing menial job and
yeah,
then yung sigaw-sigawan ka,
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
And
Oo.
that's really, I mean, that's the reality of many migrants, not just Filipinos that come to Canada. That they're at a certain status where they are, and then they get here, they start from the bottom and work their way up.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. The
But
good
we're
news is Filipinos move up pretty fast because they are now, especially now, they are in very high demand from many employers. I know a lot of people that own, being a business owner myself, marami akong kilala na own their own business, not just Filipinos, but all kinds. And they are really demanding for Filipino workers because we have a reputation of being a really good worker and being really good employee.
You are right. You're not the only person na sinabi yan sa amin. Yung mga guests natin na mga Filipinos living abroad, even in the US, yung may isa na nag-apply siya, tinanggap lang siya ng employer dahil Filipino siya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you're not qualified for the job, they'll hire you just
Yeah.
because you're Filipino.
You are right. Kasi maganda yung feedback nila sa
Work
mga
ethics, ang work ethics sa Filipino.
It's
Yeah.
more, it's our culture and the way we do things, right? We're very honest, we're very loyal, and we take work seriously, which is the toughest thing to find right now in Canada.
You
Like
are right.
that, we're struggling with employment here in Canada. Actually, my number one problem with owning a business for the past 6 years is finding employment
You're right.
or
Okay.
finding employees.
Brian,
Yeah.
yung dumating ka dito, Brian, yung dumating ka, it's only, kasama mo yung kapatid mo, right?
All three of us arrived at the same time. Yeah,
Ikaw yung eldest?
I am. Yeah.
So ano kaya, do you still remember ano yung reaction sa mga kapatid mo ay, uncle, nandito tayo, ano ba to?
Well, mostly the people that were here are my mom's side, my uncles and stuff. So they're, everybody, like I said, it's not like the Philippines where everybody lived in one house. Everybody kind of had their own house, and you have to. At the time, we didn't have a vehicle, so we had to commute to
Yeah.
see them. So it wasn't easy to really, get in touch with them. So it's always kind of like when there's a party or when there's a forced gathering, right? Obviously, when we first arrived, everybody came to say hello. But yeah, everybody had their own family. It wasn't like back home na nakatira tayo lahat sa isang bahay. So they're always there. But here, you're on your own. You're with your own family.
Yeah. Oo. So, kanina na-mention mo about yung struggle ng dad mo. Paano po siya nag-level up? Siyempre, tayong mga Pinoy, hindi naman pwedeng ganito lang tayo, di ba? So, na-remember mo ba kung paano lumi-level up yung dad mo?
I think for a while, it was more my mom that kept moving up with her because she was a care aide for older people. And then she went back to school with government support schooling type deal. And then she got into accounting at Canadian Airlines, which allowed us travel because of the free, like all the free travel that she benefited from. And then she went to TELUS in the business, all in the office side, right? But as far as my dad, he was always the chef of the family. So my dad's side of the family, we're all cooks. Like we love to cook. So he would always do like catering for on the side
Okay.
for people. So he's been doing that from the beginning. And then from there, when I went to cooking school, eventually he learned how to cater from when I was doing my catering, like more on the professional level, where it's not just like parang side job. I was doing like big professional level catering. So he learned roast beef and the pastas and salads. So he eventually having his own catering company. So that's what he did to move up. So he had his own catering.
Mm-mm.
Papa
Okay.
Boy's Catering, that's what it was.
Okay. So,
Before ka, Brian, before mo yun nagawa, you went to school first.
Yeah, I'm a Red Seal chef.
Pero
So I went.
yung pagdating mo dito, 11 ka, so you went back to elementary?
I was in elementary and then I went all through high school, and then sa high school ako nung nag-focus ako sa culinary arts. There were programs na provided by the government na pinasok ko yung apprenticeship program. So in order now dito kasi everything has it's called a Red Seal. Kung Red Seal ka, kunyari, you can be a Red Seal electrician, Red Seal plumber, Red Seal contractor. Red Seal means that you went through the actual professional schooling. On top of that, you also accumulated the hours required to become a Red Seal. Hindi lang now you can go to like a cooking school and get a certificate,
Yeah.
because you went there for 6 months, but that doesn't teach you to actually how to actually cook.
Yeah.
Now, that just teaches you how to follow recipes and things like that. Like with me, I can eat food and I know how to make it. I don't need a recipe to I can yeah, if I go
Oh.
somewhere and you serve me food, I can say, okay, I can make this, right?
Really?
That's the difference between a chef and a cook. A cook will have to follow a recipe to cook it.
Mm.
It's like a musician. If a true musician hears music, he doesn't need anything to play it. He can
Mm.
just play it. Same way
Oo.
with a chef. If a true chef tastes food, you can make a version of that that's gonna come close.
Oo. So meaning to say, nasa blood nyo yan kasi your dad loved
Oh
to
yeah.
cook, right? At tapos ikaw, yun
My
din ang
dad, my
gusto.
uncles, my aunts, they're all cooking
Oh.
families. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Even till today.
So right after college, yun, right after high school, yun ang kinuha mo.
Actually, the program was from grade, I believe the grade 12. So when you go to grade 12, you can
Yes.
qualify for your first year apprentice because they had how schools here they have full cafeterias.
Yes.
So they had a program where they have a chef there working, and then I part of my classes was mainly with the cafeteria stuff. So we would cook for the students.
Mhm.
So that's part of the 1 year apprenticeship program. And then on top of that, while you're in school, you have to go to what's called work experience. So you have to find a company like a local restaurant or a local golf club that will hire you, no pay, to work as an apprentice, to work in their kitchen. So that's part of your work experience, right?
Yeah.
And
Practical
then
job.
once I graduate, I go to the next step, which is like a university or a college, which is Vancouver Community College, which you continue on with your culinary education.
Mm.
That's the continuous education.
It's a college, but because I went through the high school system,
Mhm.
I didn't have to apply. Like all my stuff were all paid for by the government because actually I got some money too because I applied for all this scholarship.
Mhm.
So I had a lot of scholarship even right after high school because I was pretty good. Like I was ahead of a lot of people because I've been cooking with my family for a long time. Where a
Talented.
lot of people in my level in grade 12 were, just being shown how to cook. So they're just starting off. Where
Yeah.
by grade 12 I can cook my own meal, no problem.
Bryce, before ko makalimutan itanong ko, yung pag-prepare ba ng menu, kasi you are a chef, yung pag-prepare ba ng menu, that is the coming from the mindset galing ba lang ba sa inyo? Kasi making menu is your own way of thinking na ito yun. I name this menu, ganito ang pangalan sa menu. But that is an initiative from you.
Yeah, you always have control of what type of restaurant you want to serve, right? What type of food you want to serve. So it will always have to there's a science to making a menu. Hindi lang basta-basta kung ano ilagay mo. It has to be focused. Yun ang problem with a lot of restaurants na hindi tumatagal is they try to please everybody. They try to serve everything. Pero
Mm-mm.
it doesn't make sense. Kunyari, if I want a burger, I'll go to a place that serves good burgers. I don't want to see sushi in the same menu. I don't want to see California roll in the same menu.
Mm-mm.
But other places try to serve everything, together, which doesn't make sense. So you really have to have the experience or educated in how to design a menu properly in order to feed. Not everything just because it's good doesn't mean it should be on your menu,
Sure, you're right. Uh-uh.
right? It has to make sense, financially, and it has to be part of what you are, your identity as a restaurant, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
You can't be confused. Like you don't try to serve Canadian food, Chinese food, Filipino food all into one. You can
Mm-mm.
have a fusion, but you can't have all these dishes because then customers are confused. They don't know what you are. They're
Oo.
ano ba ordering ko? Hindi ko alam. you know.
Ma-confuse din sila kung ano bang klaseng restaurant 'to?
Yeah. So it's always best to do what you do best. Kunyari, you have, if like for me, I'm a sandwich shop. So I
Hmm.
make sure that I have the best sandwiches, every single sandwich in my menu is something that they can't just go down the road and buy,
Oh.
right? So I
Oh.
focus on that. So people try to tell me, well, why don't I see you cook all the other stuff? Like, why don't you have why don't you sell lechon at your place? I said, well, but I have a version of a sandwich that has lechon in it,
Mm-mm.
right? So
Yeah.
you have to really design it so that in a way that you can present it so that you still have your own identity,
Mm-mm.
Branding.
di
It's
ba?
called branding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dapat klaro kung
Brian, before I know, kung titignan natin yung level mo ngayon sa career mo ngayon is nandoon ka sabihin nating mataas ka na. Napagdaanan mo ba yung struggle na somebody's trying to put you down and then naka-encounter ka ba ng racism on your workplace at saka kahit sa company mo ngayon kasi competing each other nandoon talaga.
You will deal with that at every level, whenever, wherever. It doesn't matter where you're just starting out or you're 6 years in. It's not gonna matter. Those people exist and they will always try to take you down. The key is you shouldn't focus on it. They don't matter.
true.
They, they don't matter. You don't stick by listening to those people, right?
Mm. The
Because
problem
it's a small percentage.
but the problem is tayong mga Filipino, 'di ba, emotional tayo, gano'n tayo.
Well, that's the thing. That's how to become professional, you have to move emotion out of the way.
Mm.
Di
Yeah,
ba?
pero hindi masyadong magpaapekto 'no, 'pag may mga
No,
negative
it's always gonna affect you, but you have to do it on
yeah,
the
deal
side.
with it. Yeah.
Do it in private, right? You
Mm.
can't, you have to stay, the term, you have to stay professional all the time. Well, that's reality of it because emotions doesn't help your business if it's gonna affect it in a negative way,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So you're gonna deal with racism. You're gonna deal with people. I get bad reviews from fake accounts because you
Oh, yeah.
know, oh yeah,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you go to my Google review, I'm at 4.9, 4.8 stars out of 5,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
So why would I focus on the 0.02% when I have 4.8% people that loves me?
Mm.
Mhm.
It
Right.
doesn't make sense. So you're
Mm.
not going to please everybody. And some people just don't like you just because they don't like you. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. Just like with what you serve and what you do,
Mm.
right? So you just keep going. A lot of times people fail in the business because they get emotional and, they think, oh, this person must doesn't like me or doesn't like my food. Everybody else must feel the same or might, they're you're assuming ba na kung ano ang ang reputasyon mo, but
Mm.
it's not that way.
Dapat just keep on moving, bahala na anong sinasabi nila basta ikaw focus ka lang sa goal mo.
Yeah,
Oo.
because they don't affect, realistically, they don't affect you. They don't affect what you do. I
Mm.
mean, if 4.8% of people, that, like I said, that 4.8 rating, now if that was reversed and I have a 2-star rating, then
Mm.
yeah, you should care because then you're doing something wrong.
Mm.
But if the majority of your market is telling you you're doing a great job, why listen to the 2% of the market that tells you that you're doing it wrong?
Yeah, you're right. Uh-huh. Okay, this time, let's take a break. And then sa pagbalik natin, focus tayo sa business nyo ngayon, Chef Bryan. Paano po mo to sinimulan? And then,
Mhm.
paano mo po napag-grow yung business mo? Considering may mga competitors tayo na yung iba malakas na from the very start, no? So yun
Yeah.
yung journey sa business mo ang i-discuss natin sa pagbabalik. So stand by, mubalik ta humani ini. Okay, balik ta sa atong tulumanon CCTN International Pinoy Journeys o para sa atong mga late tuners ang atong guest karong buntaga sa atong tulumanon, usa ka chef gikan sa British Columbia, Canada, si Chef Bryan Mendiola. O kaganina Brad Tony atong gihisgutan og sugod na iyang journey sa Canada. But this time ang atong hisgutan Brad Tony is after po kayo chef na graduate from college, anong ginawa mo? Nag-establish kayo agad-agad ng sarili mong restaurant or nag-apply muna kayo?
No, the apprenticeship program sa galing sa high school, then you go to the college part. And then while you're going to the college, going through your culinary apprenticeship program, is you're working at the same time as you're going to school. So
Mm.
it's called the work placement. So they find you an employer that you will work for while going to school, and that employer eventually ended up hiring me throughout, even after I was done school. Yeah.
Okay. But
So
at
I
the
became
time,
their chef. I became not actually, I became their assistant chef.
nung nasa school ka pa, hindi pa bayad 'yon.
It is, but it's subsidized. Hindi siya ano. Yeah, there's the government really helps you out. There's a lot of government funding and government help for a lot of people that are starting out, because they do need people to see. Cooking is one of those industries na not everyone joins it. So they have to put incentives for people to do it. Otherwise, no one is really wanting to be cooks anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not an easy industry.
So after that, na-hire po kayo sa company na
Mhm.
doon kayo nag-intern. So for how many years po kayo nanatili sa company na 'yon?
I was with Cassie's on the River for a good 3 years, and then on and off, like trying other stuff on and off with them. A total of 6 years, a total with that.
So after that, chef,
Yeah,
kinontinue mo yung pag-apply ng ibang company sa
yeah. I went to several other cooking jobs and tried it out, but I kept going back to my main restaurant that I left. Um, and then eventually I traveled, and eventually I kind of burnt out cooking because I
Yeah.
started really young, and for somebody that's starting from 16 years old to all the way till I was about 23 years old,
Mm-mm.
and I had a pretty high level job already. I was already one of the head cooks. By the time I was 19, I was a head chef
Wow.
for a golf club,
Mm-hmm.
which is a lot of responsibility as a 19-year-old. And you get to see real money at that time. For a 19-year-old, that's a lot of things. So I kind of missed out a little bit. So I burnt out because there was a lot of stress involved with running a kitchen, right?
Mm-mm.
um, you're dealing with staff, you're dealing with many different personalities. So eventually I left the industry for a lot of years. I went into sales because I just didn't want to be cooking anymore, right?
Really?
And also it's hard to save up as a cook, to save up money, because you get paid well for
Mm-mm.
the job, but
Mm.
not well enough where you can be rich, like where you can save up, where you can open your own restaurant. It's one of those industries that it's just not a high paying job,
Right.
Really?
right?
When you're starting sa schooling mo na ito yung talaga yung industry na papasukan mo.
Yeah.
Plinano mo ba yun na magkakaroon ka ng sarili mong negosyo?
Eventually, I've always wanted to have my own restaurant or a catering company.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, after sa parang it happen talaga, no? Kahit anong profession natin, if you're doing the same thing every day, mabu
Hmm.
maboboard ka talaga and you want to try something new, and it happened to you as well, right? So,
Yeah.
nag-sales ka. So, paano yung shift niya from chef naging sales? Hindi ka ba nahirapan?
Actually, I found sales very easy for me kasi I'm very outgoing.
Mm.
Very easy to get along with, and I talk to people. I'm very social.
Mhm.
So that came as part of being in the cooking industry because you meet a lot of people.
True.
You're meeting a lot of people in the community, so it was an easy transition for me. My sales part of it was supposed to be temporary,
Okay.
but the money in sales is a lot more for the amount of stress and work that you have to put in.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Since I was really good in sales, I got stuck there for many years,
Okay.
Oh,
right? And I told myself the only way I'm going to come back to cooking is if I owned my own.
You're right.
mm,
And
So
then
I didn't want to work for, I didn't want to make somebody else rich because that's really what I was doing is, I had all the talent,
uh-uh.
but I was working for somebody else. So
Yeah.
they're making all the money and I'm still living check to check.
You're right.
So, so that's what I told myself that, if I do get back into cooking, I want it so that I own it.
Uh-huh.
oh,
So, ilang taon po kayo sa sales?
Good 14 years it ended up being.
10
It was
years.
supposed to be 14.
14.
Yeah, 14. It was supposed to be like maybe a 5-year break or a 3-year break.
Oo. So,
Yeah,
talaga.
I first got into A and B Sound, which is like kind of like an audio video electronic store.
Okay.
Um, so selling TVs and home theater systems. And at the time, it was kind of just the boom of that industry where everyone there wasn't even the LCD plasma yet. It was still like the tube TVs, right?
Mm-mm.
So at the time, the plasma and the wall TVs were just coming in. So it
Okay.
was a very lucrative industry
Mm-mm.
around that time. And then I left that because that industry also kind of died down when it used to be commission sales.
Oo.
When the big companies came in, like yung Best Buy, Future Shop dito, which is the big electronics company, they made it so it was no longer commission sales, but it was more per hour type retail.
Okay. So,
So
fake.
now the money wasn't worth
Mm,
staying. So I went into selling cars.
okay.
So that's really how I got stuck. So because selling cars, it's a good job here in Canada.
Mm, mhm.
So and I was good in sales, so it took very little effort for me to be able to sell
Oo.
something. So you're telling me that I can work, these type of hours and I don't have to bring it home with me and worry about, numbers and carrying, all the stress that a restaurant takes. So I just kept on it until I became a sales manager. Uh, so that's how I saved up for the restaurant, right?
Okay.
So I used the sales money,
Mm-mm.
that the earnings that I made in sales in car sales to save up to open up my restaurant.
Mm-mm. So,
well,
finally, kailan po kayo nag-open ng sarili mong restaurant?
2016.
oh, 3 years
So
before COVID. Almost the
6 years
years
ago.
before COVID.
6 years ago.
Years ago,
Ay,
oo.
if you don't mind, Brian, nakita ko sa profile mo,
Mhm.
marami kang empleyado na cookishan.
No, mostly it depends kung throughout the time there's always, of course, we're not in the neighborhood where there's a lot of Filipinos to begin with.
Mhm.
I live in the part of Surrey called White Rock,
Oh, okay.
which is a ocean by the water. So I don't want to say it's a richer area. Um, so and the transportation here, like the TransLink, is not that great. Like the bus system.
Mm-mm.
So a lot of new Filipinos, they don't come to this end to work because number one, rent is unbelievable, right? Mortgage
Expensive.
is very expensive, yeah.
Oh.
And also the transportation part is not like if you don't have a good bus service, they tend to like the new immigrants tend to go towards like closer to a place where you can commute,
Mm.
Mm.
like the SkyTrain station where the transit system is better
Mhm.
because you're not going to have a car right away, right? There's a lot of it. To own a car here is really expensive.
Mm.
Not only just owning the car, but the insurance for the car.
Yung maintenance. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everything.
Ako
Like
yung pagtayo mo ng restaurant, Brian, is Yung saan ka ba nakakuha where did you get that motivation na gusto ko nang magsarili ng akin? Ayaw ko nang magtatrabaho para sila yung yumayaman.
The funny enough, I left the car sales industry when I was making the most money I've ever made.
Sayang naman.
I believe me, and if you know like how much stress that my job is now, you'd think I was crazy for leaving it, right?
Really?
But at the end of the day, I'm building something more than just an income,
True.
right? I'm doing something that I love, something that I can be proud of. Uh, you know, my main thing is I get to spend the time. I have full control of what the time I spend with my family,
Mm.
right?
Kasi,
With the other job, yeah, sure, I make more money, but at what cost? Like,
mm.
you don't get to see your kids as often. You like now I coach my son's basketball team. I pick
Ah,
them up from school. I drive, I get to live the life I want to live
mm.
without having to worry about an employer,
True, kasi
right?
oo, ikaw yung may-ari. But, nung nag-start pa kayo nung 2016, na-click ba agad? Kasi pagbaguhan tayo, 'di ba? Hindi
Yeah.
ganyan kadali.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it was we were a hit right away.
Oh,
Um
wow!
yeah, the thing with me is because I was into sports growing up, I
Oh,
was
yeah.
very competitive.
Oo.
So I don't like to fail. I don't like to not do well. I don't I'll do it as I only do it if I know I'm going to be good at it,
Mm,
right? So I always make sure that by the time I do it, I already know everything. I'm still the same with anything. If I want to buy something,
mm.
I'll learn. Like, say I want to buy a vacuum, I'll research that vacuum till I know everything there is to know about the vacuum before I buy it. By the
Ah,
time I buy it, I know everything about that vacuum,
tama.
about any vacuum. I can actually sell it.
Mm.
Ganun
Mhm.
ako for everything. Medyo, Google is my friend. YouTube is my friend. I research, research, research. So when I opened, since we've opened from 2016 till now, we are the best sandwich shop award every year since we
Wow.
opened.
Anong nangyari sa inyo, Brian? We know COVID. We got COVID.
Well,
Ano?
just like everybody, we had to shut down. But we were only shut down for a month, so I had to figure out a way
Mm.
to make sure that safety was the number one priority. Make sure that can we work without getting sick.
Yeah.
So you can't do that while you're open. So we had to shut down for a month. We didn't know we were going to shut down for a month. We thought we were going to be shut down for longer, but we ended up going takeout only,
Tama.
right?
Mm.
So with that creates a lot of problem. The pandemic is people think it's over. It's not for the restaurant industry here in BC.
Hmm.
You're just gonna see the beginning of all these places closing, right? As successful as we are still struggling. Like even a restaurant like us, we struggle to turn a buck right now because of inflation,
Yeah,
gas prices, insurance
you're
prices.
right. Mm.
So it's employment. Like we can't find any right now. I'm trying to hire one employer, and I can't find anyone to
Really?
hire. Yeah,
Ah,
not no one that's qualified, right? You
oo.
know, cooking is not one of those that
Correct.
pwede ka mag-hire na. Okay, come on,
Pwede
you
natin
you you
alisin.
have to know what you're doing, right?
Yeah, you're right. Oo.
So nung pandemic hit, we were actually there was a I turned it into something positive. Like I said, you're gonna have anytime you run a business or you do something, you're gonna run into obstacles, right? So what do you do with it? Nung nag-close kami, so I had all this food because we didn't know we were closing. So we actually ordered food to fill up the restaurant because we were really busy just before the pandemic.
Mm.
Um, like we were so busy that we were in the newspaper the week before of the rest. Like here's Bryan and the Carvery still because everybody was struggling. Well, we were like thriving. Like the restaurant was full, so we ended up being in the news
Mm.
of one of the examples of a business that was striving during the pandemic.
Mm.
So, and then 3 days later, we had to close,
Oh,
right? But not just us, but pretty much everybody had to close.
everybody, yes.
Yeah, this was March. right? So when we were in the news, being talked about how successful we were even during the pandemic, we were also in the news now that we had to shut down for a month, like only a week later, right? So it was really moving fast because the laws and the rules were changing every day. It was changing. One day it'd be like, you're not allowed to do this. The next day it's like, no, you can't do that,
Mm-mm. Mm.
right? Now before you can walk in without a mask. Next day, oh,
And
you have to wear a mask.
yeah.
So we didn't know how to, like, we were just going by what we were told. The good news with us is we just followed what we were told. There was a lot of people they were anti government, or they hindi sila magfa-follow, they protest. They ended up closing for good because then the backlash of yung mga tao na, okay, I'm not going there kasi hindi safe, hindi sila sumusunod sa rules.
Tama.
So I had a restaurant full of food. So ang ano ko, oh, what am I gonna do? Kasi it's not gonna last. We don't know when we're gonna open again.
Mm.
So naisipan ko, iluluto ko tong mga marami kong kaibigan at saka customer ng mga nurses sa local hospital dito.
Oo.
Nalaman ko during the pandemic that they're so overwhelmed that they were working 15 24-hour days, like 16-hour days, and
Mm.
they didn't actually have time to make their food.
Mm.
So some of them don't even have food, or they're really overworked. So I thought to myself, okay, gagawin ko na lang yung natira kong mga pagkain, gagawin ko, tapos ipamimigay ko sa local, so to the nurses. I'll cook them lunch. So yun ang ginawa ko. So it lasted for about a week na yun ang ginagawa ko. So every day I will make them food. Tsaka yung mga, I also did care homes, yung mga nag-aalaga. Actually, there's a lot of Filipinos that work there, so they were very happy.
So free yun?
Free.
Oh,
Yeah. Kasi what am I gonna do with the food? I'm just gonna throw it away.
yeah.
So might as well make it something. Ginawa ko yun nung day one. By the next morning, it went viral.
Ah.
So the day after, I was in Global News, which is the major news broadcasting here, which is like Canada-wide broadcasting, and
Mm-mm.
they're interviewing me of my cause. I called it the feed the healthcare workers,
Oo.
feed the frontline workers. So that ended up going viral, and it ended up serving over $1 million worth of food throughout all the hospitals and all. I should have the news broadcast somewhere in my file. So that went viral. Kasi ang ginawa ko, I ended up challenging, kasi I knew that I wasn't the only restaurant in that situation.
Oh, mm-mm.
So ginawa ko as a viral challenge. Kasi palaki ng palaki, I was just adjusting every day na,
Mm.
okay, what do I do now? So I have people like, oh, do you have a GoFundMe so I can give money? I just want to donate money for your cause. Can you
Oo.
just, pero wala akong kitchen. I couldn't work in my kitchen after that kasi I have to be closed.
Mm.
Sabi ko, well, I ended up starting a GoFundMe which raised like $10,000 or $12,000, and then other people started because I challenged other restaurants to say, hey, if you want to be part of this, contact me, and we'll find a hospital to donate your food. So I was actually quarterbacking and managing all these donations coming from everywhere and telling them, okay, you're dropping this off at Vancouver Hospital. You're
Mm.
dropping this off at Richmond Hospital. You're dropping this off at, all the little towns in BC,
Mm-mm.
all the way to Kelowna, Calgary. It really reached Canada wide. So I was proud of that. And then from there, it became the people wanted to give money. So I was taking money and using that money to buy food from struggling restaurants that were, really struggling, that might close down. So I was buying their food to give to with that money to give to the rest. So I wasn't only helping the healthcare people, I was
Mm-mm.
helping my fellow restaurant people that were in trouble financially because they lost their business of people buying food.
Mm-mm.
So I was contracting them, say, okay, cook me, 100 sandwiches. Here's how much would that cost? So I give them that money, and
Oh.
then they would deliver to their local. That
Mm.
went on for months.
For months? Oh
Oh
my.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah.
Dahil
So
sa GoFundMe na na raise mo.
well, people will start other ones. So other bigger organizations started coming and say, "Hey, do you need help?" I go, "Yeah." Like it became a full-time job. For the whole month I was supposed to be off.
Oo.
People think I was off. I had more paperwork and more internet work than I ever had before, because all I was doing was organizing the donations to who's gonna get it,
Yeah, yeah.
like which hospital, and so yeah, it was crazy. And
Pero
then
pero iba yung how do you feel after you did that one? 'Di ba? Kasi iba yung fulfillment mo, yung ginawa mo na
I didn't have time to feel anything. I was just trying to keep up. So, but I knew that it was something good, but it was very therapeutical for me, because I had a lot of stress, because I pretty much had a closed restaurant. I didn't know if my business was gonna, you know,
Back.
open again.
oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
So during that time, I was so busy, I didn't have time to think about the problems I had.
No, you're right.
So it actually
You did
saved
not
me,
think
if
that the
anything,
COVID is
right?
in your corner.
Yeah, like the COVID part, like I wasn't even thinking COVID. I was just thinking, okay, how do I get this food to the hospital? How do
Naging
I get this donation to here, right?
oo,
So it actually saved my mind, I think. It saved my sanity during that time.
oo.
So then after a month we reopened, and again, huge support from the community, of course, be going viral that way. So I even had bigger support from
Mm.
the community, and
Mm.
even outside the community. So we became a destination place from people that wouldn't normally come to my area, that
Mm.
would come here
Oo.
specifically
So
because they
bumalik
like what they've
tulog.
done.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
it was free advertising for me,
Free
as far as
advertising.
going. So don't get me wrong. I don't want to take credit of I planned this, I did this, I did that. Hindi ko talaga pinlano. It all just happened.
It just happened.
So
Oh,
it all starts from just from the heart of, you're just trying to help, you're trying to find a solution, and then it goes bigger, 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 bigger. So I don't want to take credit for, I can tell people, oh, eto gagawin mo, eto dapat gawin mo. I didn't know either.
mm.
Yun lang that's the result of trying. Ang conclusion ko is that if you try to do good things happen.
Yeah, you're right.
That's all it is,
Mm. So,
right?
anong mga food ang ino-offer ngayon sa restaurant mo, chef?
So we're a sandwich shop. Pero hindi lang you wouldn't think na yung ham sandwich, ganon, egg sandwich, hindi ganon.
Oo.
Kunyari, I have a beef brisket sandwich. So I don't know if sa Pilipinas kung malaki ang beef brisket, but beef brisket is like a very high end now na smoke meat here.
Mm.
Tapos we make a sandwich out of that. Lechon, which is here, they don't know lechon, so I call it porchetta.
Okay.
Diba? So you have to submit to what the recognition is. Kasi kung i-force mo yung, before you can give people what you want, you have to give them what they want first. And
Yeah.
then you can offer what you want to give them,
Oo. Yes.
right? So tinawag ko at the time is porchetta sandwiches. So
Mm.
really popular. We make all our meats. Kunyari, di ba when you make a sandwich, you just buy a deli meat.
Yeah.
Yung isang ball ng turkey.
Mm.
Well, a turkey is not a ball. A turkey is actually a turkey breast. So, hindi ako gumagamit ng deli meat. I make my own meat.
How?
Yeah. I roast my own turkey meat, and then I slice it,
Ah,
right? I roast my own beef, and then I slice it.
so kayo
Hindi
talaga.
yung press na
Mm.
puro gelatin lang na na only 25% is meat and the rest is filler,
Mm.
right? So my sandwich is a lot higher end. It's something that you would get at a higher end restaurant because I use that type of ingredient. And same with my soup. Yung soup ko is it's what you would get at a regular restaurant. So I don't you normally kasi yung mga soup dito is you just buy in a bag and then you reheat.
Mm.
But I make my own. And it's not from scratch. Normally pag soup, 'di ba, yung mga butal na manok, butal na beef, butal na vegetables, and then you make soup. Sa akin, I actually buy the ingredients for the soup.
Recycled.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so and we were popular for our chowders. Like I have a lot of chowders, which is more cream, thick, very more expensive soup because syempre cream and butter and cheese and all that.
So kaya nag-click agad yung restaurant because of the quality of food that you offer to your customers.
Yeah, not only the qualities, because you can't just go down the road and buy the same sandwich,
Ah, yeah. Oh,
right?
okay.
So
Brian, Brian, yung
you
araw.
can't buy a porchetta sandwich anywhere, like
Yeah, yeah.
everywhere, right? You have to
Oo.
go specifically to a place that serves it. Hindi
Mm-mm.
kagaya ng Subway where,
Yeah.
okay, bili ko ng ham sandwich. Okay, then you can buy that at local grocery here. You can buy that at the gas station,
Anywhere, yes.
right? You can
Brian,
buy it at Tim Hortons or wherever, right? Yung
Mm-mm.
sa akin, you can't just go next door and buy it.
Oo, you're right.
Brian, pumunta ako one time sa Rivera.
Yeah,
Actually, I went inside your store.
inside my store.
Yes, and then I tried to browse inside. Hindi siya mukhang Pilipino ang may-ari.
Yeah, because my clientele is not Filipino.
Oh, that's not your
Yeah,
target
So
market.
why would I make it look so
yeah. Kasi po, kung hindi ka magtatanong kung sino yung may-ari, oh, Pilipino palang may-ari nito.
Yeah,
Kasi it's very Caucasian ang dating.
yeah. I don't believe in that kasi I mean, what do I have to make it look like Bahay Kubo, like in order to be
Yeah, yeah,
Filipino?
yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that's necessary. I think your food is what you're selling,
Yes.
right? So,
Exactly.
and you're inviting everybody.
Mhm.
You don't want to go into a place where, like I said, and the food that I'm selling is not Filipino food.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
ang ibig ko sabihin ba is parang mamangha ka na, oh wow, Pilipino pala yung may-ari nito. Tapos
Mm. At
sometimes,
class na dating.
oo, may
yeah,
that.
I mean, like for me, I don't like I have Filipino artifacts there because ang gusto ko kasi because I'm meat yung pangalan ng ano ko is Carvery. So it's very meat heavy like place
Mm.
na high quality meat. So I kind of do that theme of like the barbecue the butcher theme. So a lot of wood, a lot of industrial looking kind of design. I have a lot of antiques, di ba? Marami ako
Mhm.
doon na mga television, radios, telephone na mga luma from the 50s, 60s.
Mm-mm.
Tapos meron akong kotse na a classic car that I drive around town with my sticker on it.
Mm.
So I'm known, it's a very stylish. Yeah, yung restaurant itself is very stylish. I get a lot of compliments from a lot of people na, the atmosphere is really nice. The ambiance is nice.
Yes.
Do
Oo.
you serve coffee?
No, no coffee, just bottled drinks and bottled everything has to be handheld.
Mm.
What I don't have ang problema ko sa ano is I don't have the space. I just have a small place, about 30 seats sa loob. Kung yung patio bukas in the summer, we have about 40 seats,
Ah, okay.
right?
Do
And
you
my
have,
kitchen is
do you
very
have,
small.
may plano ka ba, Brian, na kasi branding ka ba, ang pangalan sa restaurant mo, magkakaroon siya ng branding. Do you have
Mhm.
plan for franchising?
We were like on the verge of not franchising, but multiple location, and then COVID hit. So we already had the project going in 2019. Now we were opening the second location, and then COVID happened, and that went all down the drain.
Oh, that's oo. But
you
how
know,
was it? After the COVID-19, parang na-reopen na yung economy. Kumusta sa restaurant industry? Medyo nakabangon, but yung inflation naman ang tumama sa atin.
yeah, that's the misconception of a lot of people. It's not over.
Mm,
Actually, it's just gonna get harder and harder right now because yung mga nangyari in during the pandemic
yeah,
is just catching up now.
yeah.
Like I have a harder time now than I did during the pandemic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's less staff,
Mm-mm.
right? The prices is higher than ever before,
Yes.
right? And not just for the food part, but my insurance, my rent, my every single supply in the restaurant, my fees from WorkSafe BC, health, all the health inspectors, fire inspection, all that stuff, right?
Mm-mm.
Those are all like 3 times the price from 2020.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Epekto pa to sa COVID, right?
of course. It's just a domino effect. It's
Oh,
just we're seeing it now,
mm-mm,
right?
mm-mm.
So I mean, we're lucky because we're one of the top restaurants. Imagine if you're a mediocre or slow restaurant.
Oo.
A lot of places are closing down.
You're right. Okay.
So
So, ano po yung message mo, Chef, para sa mga Filipinos living abroad at saka gustong magtayo ng sarili nilang business?
no fear. You just go for it. Don't I find I told Tony this, that a lot of people come here and then they assume they're not gonna get hired. They assume they're not qualified for this position yet. So
Mm-mm,
they apply to the lower scale of the job openings, right?
mm-mm,
But in reality, our reputation as Filipino is so high and so high demand. You should be over striving for your job. Like
mm-mm,
I would apply for a job that I might not even be qualified for, but I'd apply for it anyways in case I get hired. That's the mentality of other cultures. Like if you look at Indian, like East Indians and Chinese,
mm-mm.
they're the opposite. They apply at the highest job, even like if
Even
they're not qualified for it.
uh-huh.
They don't even read the resume. They just send. They don't even read the job posting. They just send applications, right?
Yeah.
Where we are, we're like, oh, I know that I'm an engineer here in the Philippines, or I'm a computer engineer here in the Philippines.
Mm-mm,
They'll get here and they'll apply for a cleaning job. They're apply. I'm not saying not to apply to those jobs, but
mm-mm.
why not apply to the job that you know already how to do, right?
You're right.
Because don't assume that you're not gonna get hired for that job.
Mm,
Let yourself get hired and prove yourself. Now, if they decide that you're not qualified for the job, then you adjust. But at least you tried,
you tried. Yeah.
right? Ang yung misconception I find we always kind of we don't come in with the confidence that we should be coming into.
Mm-mm.
So if you come into the country and you're new, be confident in your skill and just apply to the job you want to get, right?
Yeah, true. Dapat umapply lang sa work na kaya mong i-prove na kaya mo yan.
Yeah, you don't have to take a cut as far as you don't have to apply to the lower jobs just so like you can be entry in the workforce.
Mm,
Go for it all. Go for what you think you can. As long as you know you can do the job, go for it.
yeah,
Apply,
yeah.
right? If you get it, great. Now you show your stuff,
Mm,
right? If you don't get it, guess what? There's 10,000 other people looking for employees. Apply to those ones,
yeah.
you know? So, I mean, it frustrates me when I meet people and they're like, "Oh, I used to sell real estate in the Philippines and I was successful in doing. Oh, what do you do now? Oh, I'm cleaning houses."
Mm,
But I always want to ask why. Why aren't you doing?
yeah.
Why don't you get your realtor license, or why don't you do this? But I can't ask that kasi syempre nakakahiya naman. It's
Mm,
personal, right? So I mean, there's nothing wrong with those entry level jobs, but
you
there
should,
has to be a reason why
yeah,
you're doing those. Kunyari, if you have kids and you have to raise your kids, then yeah, probably those jobs are more flexible hours wise. So
yeah. And
it's okay for you. But
just
what I'm saying,
mm,
if you want to get ahead financially and you want to, you have a certain goal, don't start at the bottom. Start up top.
you're right. Mm-mm, tama. Okay, thank you very much, Chef, sa sharing you for this morning. Very inspiring at saka yung fighting spirit ng Pinoy nandun eh.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I hope that people, when they do come here, they come with confidence. Like they have to take pride in who they are and what they can do.
You're right.
Like I said, a lot of times they come and they don't have the confidence to go for it.
You're right. Okay, Brad Tony, your parting message.
O mga igsoon, natapos na usab ang programa natin dito sa CCTN International Pinoy Journey. Sana po nagustuhan ninyo at nakapagbibigay ng inspirasyon Sana mapanood ninyo kami sa the same time on station here in CCTN International Pinoy Journey. Tony Ortega live from British Columbia.
Okay, ako usab si Divine Marshall Flores. Thank you very much sa atong guest for this morning. Si Chef Bryan Mendiola, live from British Columbia, Canada. And of course, Brad Tony, thank you very much for your time. Sa atong mga televiewers, salamat sa inyong pagsunod sa atong programa. Hantod sa sunod semana, din hilang sa CCTN International Pinoy Journeys. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.